We are going to resume our meeting, and we begin this section with public comments. Written communications received by Jose Sanchez regarding the Rosemead Boulevard trench botched repair. Primo Castro, representing the American Cancer Society Action Network. Anna Alicia Carr and Yanith Rodriguez regarding items prohibiting the smoke shops. Maria Aguilar, also Homayan Mostafi regarding rent control. Diego Rubalcaba regarding council members interrupting each other. And Pastor Ray Ochoa from the Lord's Vineyard Fellowship regarding marijuana business. All emails containing the written communications were provided to city council members. Okay. So let's move on to the consent agenda. Let me go around to the Ben here. Mayor Pro Tem, do we have anything that you want to pull from the consent?
None.
Nope. Councilman Camacho?
I do not.
Nope. Councilman Lara?
Item 6, please.
You have a question?
I'd like to know if we could bring this back to the next city
Well,
council.
you're not requesting a pull. Yes, you are, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's more than a question. You're pulling. You
Yeah.
want to pull an item. Okay, go.
Oh, do you want me to talk about it now?
Yes?
Okay, great. In regards to item number 6, this is a service agreement with 3 various contractors totaling $3 million for a term of up to 3 years for each one of them. I'd like just a little bit more time to look at these contracts, look at these companies. I necessarily don't have an issue, but I would just like a little bit more time. And if we can bring this back to the next city council meeting, I'd be happy to vote on it then.
Okay, number 6.
So is the motion to continue this matter to your next council meeting?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Could I just make one clarification on that? It's up to $1 million. It's not $3 million total. Just a quick clarification.
Okay, so,
But the motion is still to continue the matter to the next?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's things like that, yeah.
And just a reminder, we agreed that in contract situations like that we would have the opportunity of tabling it for the next? Yes, okay.
Okay.
The pleasure of the council. So if we need a motion, Mr. Mayor, and a vote to continue this item over.
Well, we still have, you want on this one?
Well, there's a motion by Councilmember Lara on item number 6 to hold that over to your next meeting.
Yes, could I please get a second?
A second.
Thank you.
There's a motion and a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Councilman Lutz? We want to pull anything?
No, I don't want to pull any items.
Okay. So then we're going to vote on the remaining?
I'd like to move.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I
Motion?
second.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Councilmember Lutz.
Excuse me?
Councilmember Lutz, second.
Lutz, you seconded, okay. Discussion? Okay, so the motion was made to accept the remainder of the consent agenda. Okay.
Can we do roll call, Mayor, just to make sure? Roll call on the balance of the agenda?
Do you want a roll call?
I think it'd probably be easier unless you're going to say all those in favor.
We had agreed that we would do all in favor unless you
That's
specifically
fine.
asked.
That's fine, Mayor.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All agree?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. All right. Now we move on to the regular agenda. Okay, we've eliminated item 10. So item 11, consideration of urgency ordinance and non-urgency ordinance enacting Chapter 9.2 prohibiting the establishment of smoke shops. City Manager, could you read the recommendations for us?
Sure, Mayor, City Council. This is item number 11, consideration of an urgency order and non-urgency ordinance enacting prohibiting the establishment of smoke shops in the city of Pico Rivera. Again, we have seen preponderance of smoke shops opening. They currently open in the various zones by right. We've had several issues with different smoke shops in the past. This is our attempt to deal with some of these issues and bring a process forward that would make maybe some discretionary actions in the future approval of smoke shops if the city desires. I have our director, Mike Garcia, here to talk about anything in more detail.
Any discussion, any items? Councilman Lutz?
Yes, I just wanted to go over the ordinance would be for a term of how many years, Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, this is an urgency ordinance. We'll have to come back within 45 days with a more permanent one. I think that would be eligible up to 2 years. That's correct, City Attorney?
Yes, that is correct. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is presented as requested from the city council for an urgency ordinance to address the issues of smoke shops. If you adopt this urgency ordinance, that would require a 4/5 vote. This would come back to you within 45 days for further review and evaluation, and then possibly, if you need additional time, to have an additional, I think it's 145 days, actually, up to 6 months. So what's being requested this time is for a motion to approve the urgency ordinance, and then this will be brought back to this council within that time period.
Do we have a motion to pass?
So moved as recommended?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
And that passes unanimously, so that meets the 4/5 vote threshold.
Number 12, amendment of Chapter 8.36 entitled Fireworks of the Pico Revere Municipal Code, extending the date that safe and sane fireworks may be displayed for sale and sold. Mr. City Manager, can you read the recommendation?
Sure. Mayor, City Council, this is the amendment to our Chapter 8.36 regarding fireworks and the ability to sell. The date has been extended to June 28th to allow additional days for some of our nonprofits to sell fireworks in the city.
Do we have a motion to pass?
I'd like to make a motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Discussion? No discussion, then we'll put it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, aye, okay. All opposed? 13, approval of July 13th, 2021 minutes. Mr. City Manager, recommendation?
Yes, Mayor, City Council, this was an item that was continued from at least a few meetings ago. We delayed it again to allow the city clerk to answer any questions, but the item is to approve or disapprove or take no action on these minutes.
Move to approve?
Discussion? No.
I'd like to just,
Discussion?
yeah. So I'm the one who's asked to bring these minutes back because I'd like to amend them. I'd like to amend them with the following amendment to be added to reflect one particular item that took place during that meeting. And I'd like the amendment to read as follows. Columbia Capital Representative Mike Williams did not score Cabrera Capital as a #1 choice for the pension obligation bonds. Period. Full stop.
We have a second to the amendment.
No,
We-
I have a motion.
Well, there's a motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem. I don't know if we received a second.
Is the motion to
Well-
approve?
Motion to approve minutes as recommended.
And then there's a second. And then, as I understand, Councilmember Lara's motion is to provide a substitute motion with his
Let me
amendments.
proceed with the, okay, you made a motion, okay, was there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Discussion. Now, Mr. Lara,
Okay, fair enough.
you want to amend it?
Yeah, so I'd like to amend the minutes with the insertion that I just read off in regards to Columbia Capital Representative Mike Williams. Did not score Cabrera Capital as the #1 choice for the pension obligation bonds. I've had this discussion with the city clerk. She went back and reviewed the tape. She agrees that that is something that, in fact, happened, but she deferred, and I hope I'm not inserting words. If I am, please stop me, Ms. City Clerk Jerome. But she preferred that we bring it to the city council for a city council vote. So this is proper procedure. This is the way that city minutes are amended is you bring it to the city council, you present your case, and you vote, and you move forward. But I think that that's a proper reflection of what exactly happened during that meeting.
I think the motion here is, our options is to approve the minutes as the city clerk has prepared them, or to not approve them. Those are our two options here, and we take no action. And it is not an option to go in and edit and add items 2 minutes after the fact. And I don't think that it's fair to set that precedent, and it will create more work upon our staff to go through, and it has been pushed several meetings. So I think we should approve our July minutes as the city clerk has prepared them, which are in fact correct.
I'd like to submit a rejoinder to that. We, as city council, we are not hamstrung by what these three options. As long as we are acting not only in transparent and good faith and in accordance with the Robert's Rules of Order, in accordance with California state law that governs provisions in regards to public meetings, we have the ability to amend minutes as long as they historically reflect what took place in the meeting. So we're not just constrained by these three options. So once again, and this doesn't create a lot of work. It's actually just inserting a sentence. So once again, I want to amend the minutes to reflect what happened at that July 13th meeting, that Columbia Capital Representative Mike Williams did not score Cabrera Capital as the #1 choice for the pension obligation policy.
Okay, you have that opportunity. I asked for a second. Is there a second? No second.
So then the original motion to approve the minutes, Mr. Mayor, will stand. So if you want to take a roll call on the approval of the minutes.
Councilmember Camacho,
Yes.
Councilmember Laura,
No.
Councilmember Lutz,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Elias.
Yes.
Motion carries.
City manager staff reports.
Mayor, I just wanted to give a quick update to council on our survey that we have in going with the public, and I have Caitlin McGee to give that update.
Sure. I'm happy to report that we are closing up the survey fairly soon. We have had great participation. So we'll be presenting the preliminary findings along with our study session on October 12th, and a more in-detailed review and staff report October 26th. After the community survey, we'll be hosting a community event. We have received some feedback that we would like to include, additional opportunity for residents to participate and drill down a little bit deeper to establish our goals for the strategic plan. So, so far so good, and we'll follow up with the results shortly.
That is all, Mayor.
Any comments, discussion? I've had a few residents contact me that the survey was going into spam. Okay, and a few others that said that when they tried to get the link, there was no survey. So how are we going to deal with that?
Yeah, that's the first time I'm hearing about that. Our consultant had tested their survey platform. They do about 14-day testing of their systems. So they're pretty robust in their testing. We did see very good participation through our email outreach, actually. That's where most of our respondents have come from. But I can definitely look into that and follow up with our consultant.
What was the sampling size for the survey?
It's about 400 residents. That's a 95% confidence interval.
95%. Okay.
And was it also delivered via text to some residents?
Yes, so the first week was primarily email. The second week, we switched to phone and text as well.
Was it in English and Spanish?
It's English and Spanish.
Was response more frequent via text or email, or have you measured that yet?
So I don't have the, strongest data on that right now, but from what I have learned from our consultant is that most of our responses have come through email. So we saw good participation that way, but we've used other mediums as well.
Great, thank you.
That's it, Mayor.
That's it? New business. Let's go around the dais. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you. I would like to just mention October is just around the corner, and I was brought to my attention that several cities have events or citywide initiatives to recognize Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And for instance, the city of Santa Fe Springs has a Paint the Town Pink. And I would like to request staff to look into possibly promoting a pink breast cancer awareness initiative at our parks, our display boards, possibly lighting at our city hall. And also with our sheriff station partners, I know they've had pink ribbons in the past, bless you. And maybe even talk to our school district and see if we can get some support for breast cancer awareness. I know in the past, Councilmember Camacho has supported Relay to Life, Relay for Life events related to cancer and breast cancer awareness. But due to the pandemic, those were all canceled over the past year. So I think it would be great if we could support the breast cancer awareness initiatives in other creative ways as we've done during the pandemic. So if I can get my colleagues' support for that, I think it would be a great initiative.
Councilman Camacho?
I don't have any new business. I have old business.
Councilman Laura?
The items I'd like to bring back in the future.
Councilman Lutz?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to see if staff can do a study session on the positive and negative effects, the pros and the cons, in essence, for additional apartment buildings being constructed in the city of Pico Rivera, particularly the El Rodeo nightclub site. That is proposed to be an apartment complex. I'm a big supporter of home ownership, and I would love to see that as an opportunity of mixed use where you have commercial retail at the bottom with the stories on top of condominiums, which are for ownership. And I think it's important that when we bring in new homes into our community, that they are for ownership, because it gives everyone an opportunity to have a part of the American dream. When you do too many apartments in a community, you don't allow people to have that opportunity to be homeowners. So I'd like to do a study session, particularly around the El Rodeo site, to see what the pros and cons are of apartments being established there versus condominiums. If I don't know if Mr. City Manager, I need a second on that, or that's just simply a recommendation that we can follow through with.
I think a second would be appropriate, just so that we can get council to direct us to make it happen.
I will second that, Council.
Thank you. That's it for my new business.
Let's see, mine is, let me pass this. To you. I am asking for a second to review resolutions that I had proposed back in January. We did not pass them, and I would like to get them passed because there's a few things that have come up, okay, in my study of the municipal code. We have in our municipal code a section 1.04.050, writing and language of City of Pico Rivera, where it specifies English only. And I would like to amend that, Okay? First of all, I want you to, just review and consider this and have it as an agenda item, but I just wanted to show you some of the items that I think we needed to update. So I would like a second for the review and possibly passage of the resolutions that I have. No second?
Mayor, for clarification purposes, you'd like to get a second to discuss these items here that you have
Yes.
bullet pointed?
Yes.
I'll second
Okay,
to have
thank
a
you.
discussion.
All right. And I guess the other item that I wanted to do was I wanted to ask our legal counsel. Some time ago, I requested that we look into a defensible position for preferential employment for residents here. Where does that stand?
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, we have done a thorough review and analysis. We are working with city staff to finalize a report to the City Council. We should be able to bring that back to the council within either the next meeting or the meeting after that. So we're ready to roll.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me. Old business? Mayor Pro Tem? Councilman?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I have a few items. This morning, I partnered with the Latino Restaurant Association to host a media event to launch the 2021 Dine Latino Week here in the city of Pico Rivera, obviously because we have an array of restaurants that offer quite a lot of Latino cuisine here. But as we know, the pandemic has impacted all businesses in many different ways, but in particular, small businesses and restaurants as a whole. So the Latino Restaurants Association launched this campaign that we hosted here in the city of Pico Rivera. And, again, just more to bring awareness and encourage everyone to visit your local restaurants and patronize them and support their efforts. Because aside from the fact that they provide great food for us, they create jobs, support families, and bring in tax revenue to the city, which in turn impacts positively our local economy here in the city. So that was as the 2021 Dine Latino Week, which just started today officially. Unfortunately, we got a lot of coverage here, media coverage, so it was pretty good that they did a good job at that. In addition to that, I just wanted to report I did attend a seminar back in August and most recently in September, and a lot of the conversations were around the theme Building Tomorrow's Cities Today. Most of the conferences or events happen through Zoom. It was great to bring, folks together, both staff and elected officials. And the seminar committee had a good amount of sessions, ranging from housing and local control to energy funding opportunities for cities to resetting the economy in a shifting world. I found personally the discussion on housing and local control to be more profound. In essence, even most recently, we had the conversation about SB 9 and SB 10. Governor recently signed it after the election that took place. Personally, I believe that SB 9 is going to be a major impact to the makeup of the city of Pico Rivera in so many different ways. Housing densification is really being stressed on us, and it becomes the issue of local control, or where to redetermine what our best use of land use planning is in our city, or the state does that for that. But it was signed. We've dealt with the ADUs, here, or we're dealing with ADUs built out in the city. So the housing conversation is prevalent on the issues that every time we talk about resources, whether it be public safety, water infrastructure, the demand will grow as we increase housing. But it's the way laws are coming about in Sacramento are taking that local control from us more so than I've ever seen it in the past. And so in addition to that, the other one was leading with the local voice. There was sessions that included trust funds in affordable housing, the California drought, water conservation efforts, American Rescue Plan Act funding, working from home, legal and management challenges and opportunities for public agencies and homeless and mental health. Once again, all of them were great. Housing and homelessness definitely took center stage for me on the various issues that we've been discussing here. I stated the housing challenges. I Obviously, we know the homeless challenges that we face and, something that we have to embark. For me, it's all about the funding. Of course, we talk about funding here, but when they do unfunded mandates from the state, it's not good for us. It's not good at all. And so I just want to make sure that I point that out. That's my report, AB 1234. And lastly, on my old business, one, I wanted to mention, I did get a call from a resident here in the city of Pico Rivera, Susana Tapia. Some of you might know her. Just really to call me to express her sincere gratitude for both the fire department and the sheriff department. There was an incident that took place on August 30th where her grandchild, 4-month-old baby, had a very severe allergic reaction. And so she strongly feels that swift action by both the sheriff deputies and the fire department saved her life. And so she wanted to make sure that she expressed that gratitude as, nowadays we tend to, shy away from that. So she wanted to make sure I emphasize that. So thank you to both of you for that. And so that concludes my own business. Thank you, ma'am.
Great, thank you. I'd like to report on three items. One, I attended Contract Cities in Indian Wells with some of my colleagues. I want to report on one of the presentations regarding the MET team and the host team. The MET team is a mental evaluation team hosted within the Sheriff's Department, and they respond to individuals who are in crisis in regards to mental health. The host team deals with homelessness and encouraging individuals who are homeless to transition into permanent housing and to get funds. I have to say that both of those were very educational. I was very impressed with the host team. They don't advertise the individuals that they help because they don't want to exploit them. And I thought that was a really commendable tact on their part. It's because it's real easy to post up your wins, right? And say, look at all the people we've helped. But they don't do that because they respect the individuals, they respect their crisis that they're going through. The second event, I held a health and wellness meeting with several directors and the city manager. We brought in the owner of Pico Care Pharmacy, and we talked about the booster shots, and we talked about the use of the location there at Smith Park. It was a very productive meeting. There were a lot of ideas that blossomed. One idea that stuck was the use of the auditorium there at Smith Park for booster shots. It's something that we're going to move forward with. Not only that, but it's also reaching our homebound population, those individuals who are bedbound, making sure that we contact them, making sure that they get their booster shots. We talked about testing, and that's one of the estimates I need to pass on to the city manager and staff. I received that from the owner of Pico Care Pharmacy. There's a great need for testing for COVID-19. It can be quite expensive. We looked at ways where we can target a specific population, like maybe the youth, because everyone should be vaccinated. That, I believe, should be the stance of the city council in terms of everyone should be vaccinated. But in regards to the youth who are unable to become vaccinated quite yet, but yet they still have to go through a series of testing, whether it's for sports, whether it's for school, whether it's for daycare activities. We looked at various opportunities in which we can subsidize the test, not make it free, but make it very cost manageable. And that's something I'll pass on to staff and hopefully we'll bring back to city council. So it was a productive meeting. We hope to double down on providing a location so that our seniors and those individuals who are eligible for a booster shot can get one at ease within the city of Pico Rivera. We have what's great about it is that the Pico Care Pharmacy has vaccinated a lot of residents, so they have a database that they can go to and that they can follow up with these residents and tell them that they're due for their booster shot. We also have a list of about 500 seniors that we can go through and call and reach out to them to make sure that they're aware regarding of their booster shots or their eligibility. We also talked about flu vaccinations and setting up flu clinics for next year. And that's something that we plan on partnering once again with Pico Care Pharmacy. They have the logistical base for that. They have the staff. They obviously have the vaccinations, and they have the licenses to be able to perform that. They have a really good track record. They've teamed up with the El Rancho Unified School District. They've vaccinated thousands of people within the city. So that was the Health and Wellness Committee. I also called a second meeting on something different. It was in regards to the Pico Rivera Sports Arena and potential future projects that the city should look at. We talked about some of the obstacles related to that. We brought in Lenoria, the contractors who run the sports arena. We met with staff. They brought in their architect. I was city manager. You were present, Mayor. We talked about some of the obstacles in regards to capacity that sports arena is facing in regards to Rooks Road possibly going away. We talked about the expansion of Rooks Road off Peck as some way to preserve capacity. We also started talking about other projects there in the basin. But I think that this calls for an ad hoc committee to be able to look at this a little bit more closely, to be able to keep an eye. Mayor, if you will, I'd like to create an ad hoc committee specifically looking at these projects, just so that we can augment staff and provide further direction and obviously bring it back to city council.
Let me ask the question, can our existing ad hocs handle it? Is it economic development? Is it community service? Is it public safety?
Well, I think this is something that needs to be a little bit more specific. This quite doesn't fall within the financial or business committee. This is something just a little bit different. These are topics that haven't been handled by that committee in the past. So therefore, I think the creation of a new ad hoc would be prudent.
Let's start an ad hoc, and then what the title is going to be of the ad hoc?
I think an appropriate title would be is the Pico Rivera Sports Arena redevelopment. And if you may, Mayor, could you join me on that ad hoc?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Councilman Lutz?
Thank you, Mayor. My old business, one item. The Public Safety Committee met on Monday, yesterday, and we discussed cannabis, the pros and the cons of cannabis, the detrimental effects and the positive financial effects, if there are any, for any potential city considering cannabis. And at the end, we had one community member attend. We had Lieutenant Hutak attend, myself, City Manager Carmona, and Michael Garcia, Director of Community and Economic Development. We all gathered and shared information, and one item that we left for homework was that the Sheriff's Department is going to check on statistical information. If there's an uptick on crime in cities that have adopted marijuana as a business in their communities. And so, for example, Bellflower, I understand, allows marijuana. And so we're going to take a look at their statistics, their data, if there's an uptick on crime or violence or anything that should be considered. And once we gather these findings, we'll then bring these findings back to City Council for City Council to utilize in their tool belt in making a decision for or against cannabis when the time should come, if it does come at all. Thank you, Mayor.
I want to ask you, Council, we have Route 60 now running full capacity in our school district, which is great, okay? Are we going to need any paperwork to formalize this with the city of Montebello?
I could answer that, Mayor. Yeah, we discussed in a meeting that we had previously that an MOU would be drafted. They're going to take the first shot, and then they're going to send it over to us for review. Again, we would be the only city in their jurisdiction currently that would have an MOU, but we're glad to put these things in writing.
So we'll have something other than a handshake.
That is correct.
Thank you. The other is that, and this is old business here, is that we had talked some time about trying to get our vendors, our food vendors, involved in, some kind of show or opportunity to expose it. I've heard that that it's a great success. Is it?
Yes, Mayor, City Council. So based upon the direction, Mayor, about creating this marketplace, as you know, there's a popular one in Arcadia called 626 Night Marketplace. There was some issues with some vendors that we're having in the city of LA. So I had economic development reach out to the organizers of those because they were getting kicked out of Avenue 26. There's also another one, I think, in Bell. We made contact and we put them in touch with the operators, and I hear that it's going very well.
Yes, I have also.
Yeah.
Has anybody had a chance to go? Okay. It's, when is it held?
I believe they schedule them sporadically. They don't have a specific date. I think the goal is to build specific dates for these vendors to come, especially built around some of the concerts that they're having. And they have said that they've gotten positive comments. It provides a lot of variety for customers that attend those shows.
The other item is, and it's old business here in terms of the moratorium on car washes. Now, I did some research on car washes here, and I think we have to be concerned not only with the moratorium on it, but the effects and impact that it has on our water system. And also, again, just the runoff and so on. I've heard other cities actually impose some very significant taxes and fees for car washes to do it because of the amount and the expense. Am I correct?
Yeah, different cities have taken different actions, Mayor. In fact, some of these car washes actually recycle the water on site to be utilized. So they are also adding technology. But again, I think citywide, we've had some interest in different locations. These are coveted locations, corner locations that we really have to see if that's really the best fit for our community.
And we have to take into consideration the cost and the impact that it has on our water system?
Yes, we do. Internally, they tend to regulate, but I think those are all things that we need to consider.
Okay. Another piece of old business, and this is back about 3 years ago that I'm going to bring up, is that about 3 years ago, I proposed a road tax on the large trucks that we have here that are just killing our roads and so on. How does that look now?
Yes, Mayor, at the time we were considering it, putting it on the ballot. We chose not to, as well as Carson at the time was looking at it. Right now, we're collaborating with the city of Santa Fe Springs. They're looking at doing that. We also reach out to our consultant, HDL, which is the same. They have the same client, Santa Fe Springs, and we're looking at possibly bringing that to a November ballot again if council decides that's the direction they want to go in.
Now, one of the concerns that they had, or the council at that time had, was the impact on business, that it was negative. We were sending a negative message to business. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, well, Mayor, I think when you consider all the things, the impacts that it has on our road, we have to pay for it. And a lot of these logistic companies, they pay minimal taxes, right? Maybe a business license. I think so. These in the case of Santa Fe Springs, they expect to raise about $10 million a year to help repair the roads as a result of those impacts.
So we're going to go forward on this then?
Yeah, we'll bring it to council for consideration.
Thank you. That's all for old business. Let's intergovernmental agency meetings. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I have some items to report. This past weekend, September 17th through 19th, I was able to attend the California Contract Cities Association conference as well. I did attend several awesome sessions. The keynote speaker was Father Greg Boyle of the Homeboy Industries, a very inspirational speaker. Janice Hahn had a session as well on women in leadership in elected positions as well as in municipal government. And something super exciting, on Saturday evening, the President's Award, the city of Pico Rivera. We are the champions, and we were recognized with the Contract City Association John Todd Award, which is for outstanding achievement in programming that exemplifies the Contract Cities model, which is local government and collaboration. So we, Councilmember Camacho and I were there that evening, and we accepted on behalf of the city. So this is for, not just for us, but for all of us. They highlighted our JPA agreement, our Prime program, as well as our joint use agreement. So we should be very proud. I didn't even know, I don't know if you knew, Councilmember Camacho, thank God we were there, and we were able to go up on stage, take some photos with Janice Hahn, and we should be proud for our collaboration. We are a great city, and this, this is some recognition that we are getting. So I want to say thank you to our staff, and I feel like I accepted it on behalf of us, but I don't know if I really deserve it, but this is for us. So thank you. Yeah. I'll give everyone a chance to carry it, so that's why I'm not hogging it. And I'll have the city manager, if you can display it somewhere for all of the staff, maybe we'll pass it through all the departments.
there so we can.
We're gonna rack up some
Many
trophies.
trophies to come, Mr. Mayor.
Take a look at that. So I'd like to pass it to the staff as well. Prime Department, they really highlighted our JPA as well, so they mentioned it specifically. So pass it over to the staff and let them know it's really for them that did all the hard work. Additionally, I was able to attend the Independent Cities Association Conference. That was August 27th through 29th. And similarly, there were several workshops that were valuable, including one related to cities and social media and legal matters that could arise. There was different sessions related to local control and land use, as well as sessions about funding for energy, funding for cities, so we can we have renewable energy and other sources. So there was a lot of information, and one thing that I learned is that we are not alone in the problems that we have. There were a lot of cities that also shared with us what they're going through, and I think it was a great opportunity to share as well as get information about what other cities are doing. So I had the opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Councilman?
Yeah, thank you. I just have two items. One, we continue to meet with the Economic Development Ad hoc, particular specific working on the workforce development. Director Garcia has been instrumental in those efforts, and thank you for that. And we'll continue. The meeting specifically are with Rio Hondo College as it relates to support and services to our community, which will bring more information forward, but also wanted to remind that at the last economic development presentation that we did, I asked or recommended that when council has available time to meet with Mr. Hernandez here and staff to go over specifically on that presentation to begin to formulate your economic development vision as it relates to what you feel the city should look like, 2, 5, 10-year plans. And then eventually lead us into a study session so we can get more specific. And as we discussed today, in the ARPA funds and how we're going to prioritize, I think it's aligned with the economic development opportunities that we have for the city. So just reminding and hope that we can move towards that direction in economic development. Lastly, I just, one of the agencies I want to report on, I see on the LA County Sanitation District, which deals with a lot of wastewater, solid waste and stormwater services amongst many other services. And, there's quite a few districts. We sit on District 18 and 2. 2 is the administrative arm of the LA Sanitation District. But one particular item that was approved that I wanted to make sure I highlighted was a settlement agreement on the mutual release of all claims with the County of Los Angeles regarding the development of proposed park on Prentice Hills landfill site. We're all familiar with the Prentice Hills landfill site, right off the 60 freeway, a site that our community, amongst many communities in the area, had dealt with that issue. Agreements were done as to the LA County Sanitation District, the county, and what will be done with the land. This is agreements that happened from the 80s. The day came to fruition, and there became a dispute between the amount of what the LA County Sanitation District was to provide based on an agreement. The Board of Supervisors, although two of them sit on this committee, both Supervisor Cejudo Solis and Supervisor Janice Hahn, they, the county argued that the LA Sanitation District's amount should be higher than was originally proposed, and it was, originally it was $30 million. They were proposing it was more over $200 million county-wise. Long story short, instead of going to litigation, this was settled, and basically what it comes down to is that 1,300 acres of space that is not far from us. $80 million have been allocated to begin the process of turning that into a recreational facility, amongst many other things that will be nearby. And, it'll be many years for these type of projects to materialize. Nevertheless, this agreement brings forward that opportunity for that Pointy Hills landfill that was closed a few years back, becomes a recreational park space for the entire region. So that's all I wanted to highlight. Thank you.
Have you been able to extract the 6 priorities that John Eck from Mercury has wanted from us? Looking at your economic development?
We had a meeting and we rescheduled that, but we're still kind of working on some of those priorities as well. Yes.
Councilman? Nothing? Councilman Lutz?
No, Mayor.
I have a couple of meetings here. Being the mayor, I have the opportunity of being a member of the COG, the Council of Governments here, local governments. And one of the things that has come up, and it's quite a surprise to, I think, mostly everyone, is that this new system is going to create a problem for us, isn't it? An economic problem with
What system is that, Mayor?
the rail on Washington Boulevard.
Yeah, well, to answer that question, Mayor, there's definitely going to be some impacts that we need to further vet.
Well, what I want to do is that I had the opportunity of talking to one of the major members in the committee there, and they were quite surprised, okay? So what I basically need as a member in there is a presentation talking about the economic impact it's going to have in our area, okay? And, with maps and everything else where I could show, again, could you explain what the situation is?
Sure, Mayor, with the gold line running through Washington Boulevard, it cuts through, I would say, the heart of the city's sales tax revenue generator. In reading reports throughout the country, even locally here, when you took a look at the gold line in East LA and the blue line in Long Beach, it has been a detriment to some of the businesses along those corridors. So I think the request that you asked was to analyze the economic impacts, both pre and post construction, to see how we can mitigate those impacts in the future.
What I'd like to do is get a presentation of somewhat that I could take it under arm and start pushing the fact that it has the. Now, could you explain why it's not so significant to other cities?
Yeah, well, I would say most cities, it doesn't hit their heart of their sales tax. Montebello, it's in their industrial corridor. Commerce, it actually comes above ground at the Citadel, and then it runs along unincorporated LA County and touches Whittier at PIH.
I have a question. Is it already decided that it's going to be at grade or is it still deciding at grade or above grade? Are they still in the determination of that?
Yeah, I think we're going to have a meeting shortly, and they're going to give us their kind of final recommendations as far as how they're going to move forward. But I believe at grade is probably the option that they're going to push across at our intersections.
But that would be more, that's the impact that you're talking about, would impact our businesses at the greater expense, right?
Yes, that is the concern.
Why would they have it above grade for a neighboring city, but at grade for our city?
It would actually come above ground at Commerce and then kind of run through Montebello above ground, also Pico Rivera and LA unincorporated until the PIH. And it boils down to cost. It's very expensive to tunnel underground. We also have the basin here, which is very expensive. So it's really an economic choice.
The other meeting that we had was that we had the opportunity, the city manager, myself, and the superintendent and president of the school board had a meeting. And the discussion really was, and I have to give you some background on this. This is historic, okay? The city and the district working together is historic because, there's a history there of some antagonism sometimes, or, just, again, territorial situation. So, we're trying to be super careful in terms of the way that the relation works and all the things that, that we have in common. So the meeting was basically to discuss, the need for a protocol and a procedure. Now, Mr. City Manager, jump in if, if there's something that you need to do. But what we did was that, again, we talked about the opportunities that are in front of us, and there's an enormous range. So much so that we have to have some discipline in terms of the way that we handle it. And basically, again, we agreed that the superintendent and the city manager were going to get together, devise, a protocol and a scheme that we would be able to put in front of the school board and the council to gain approval. Have I missed anything?
No, Mayor, that is correct. We're actually meeting this week to begin those discussions and finalize it. We've already taken the first shot at identifying how the ad hocs are going to be working together. I think the school district took an action last week to establish who their ad hoc members are going to be. And then we will develop that flow chart and we'll run it by both bodies for their approval.
The important thing is that any action that occurs has to come from the council. Has to come from the council and has to be approved by the school board also as a whole. So, we're in agreement with that.
Yes, Mayor. We will bring that to council for consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Council?
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, we have one item under the closed session, Conference of Labor Negotiators as listed on the agenda. It would be appropriate to recess into closed session.